Hi, I'm Bill Shoden, Senior Vice President of Culinary Operations for Flick Hospitality Group.
And hi, I'm Bill Kirchhoff. I'm with Distant Lands. I'm a National Food Service Manager. And Distant Lands is your seed-to-cup coffee manufacturer.
We're here today to talk about the Real Coffee program, which is an internal coffee program here at Flick. We've partnered with a premium roaster for over 15 years now, Distant Lands out of Tyler, Texas, where they roast our beans and ship them directly to our accounts. We're going to take you through station setup, how to properly brew coffee, how to troubleshoot and look for pitfalls in brewing coffee, and how to keep the machinery clean. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to calibrate a grinder for if indeed it does need service, and what the proper ratio of coffee to water is. So Bill's going to take us through some of the brand standards and quality controls at Distant Lands and their process.
We at Distant Lands believe fully in the high standards of coffee from seed to cup. So we have a quality assurance process from seed to cup, from our farms, from our sourcing, from the different countries, all the way to the harvesting, the packaging of the coffee. It is at the highest quality, and we maintain the standards through the checkpoints that we have at each step in the process.
And then most important, they're shipping directly to you. It's not going to a warehouse or a third-party vendor and sitting in the warehouse, because the enemy of coffee is time and air. So the quicker we can get the beans to you, the fresher the coffee for your customer. So I'm going to take you through station setup for Real Coffee. And obviously you want it to be functional. You want to start with your cups and then end with things like the lids and the stirrers. You don't want people to fumble. Most of our Real Coffee program is brewed into shuttles. This is a 1.5 gallon shuttle, and I'm going to talk to you about the brew in a minute. Obviously you have your magnets to identify the different roasts. The most popular we're using in the Real Coffee program is the Colombian Supremo and Decaf, but also here in the Northeast, Dunkin' Donuts is a very popular coffee. Dunkin' Donuts exited the food service arena and we had a gap. So Distant Lands matched the Dunkin' Donuts bean, both from the sourcing of the bean and the depth of the roast, because that's what really gives you the flavor. It's a lighter roast, but it's a nice, smooth cup of coffee. So I would recommend, if your customers like Dunkin' Donuts, I would try the bakery blend. If they like more rich roast, like a Starbucks, you may want to try a French roast or an urban blend. And there are a wide variety of other varietals available, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Distant Lands does have a wide array of flavored coffees, from cinnamon, vanilla, hazelnut, etc. It's branded under the Distant Lands, but it's the same roaster. Nowadays, you need a lot more than milk. These are the new bands that we've put into business that identify the milk, and you can change them from canister to canister. You obviously need all types of milk, but nowadays things like soy milk, almond milk, and even oat milk is getting more and more popular. And then your sweeteners, obviously sugar and all the artificial sweeteners, stirrers, lids, coffee clutch. So you got a nice flow in this station. As important as the labeling of the coffee is having this teaser. This teaser is available through Imagery Unlimited. It really tells the consumer what is real coffee, what do they stand for. Hand-picked Arabica beans from the individual countries of South America, and obviously Africa and Ethiopia as well. And it tells you that we're batch roasting. The way we do that, the important element of the coffee is the grinder. Real Coffee is meant to be a whole bean program, so the beans are roasted, sent to us, we grind, and then brew immediately. You never want to grind the beans the day ahead or even hours ahead, because it degrades the quality of the coffee. Grind it, we'll talk about that in a minute, and then brew immediately. And then lastly, this is our most popular machine, which is a Fetco 2052, I believe is the number. Brews 1.5 gallons of coffee, does a great job. and it really is our standard for brewing coffee. If you're a smaller account, there are pump pop brewers, and then there are some larger accounts that have the 3-gallon, but I really think this is the workhorse. And then just stepping over here for a minute, this is an example of all the different varietals of beans distant lands have. I will include that in your handout, all the different varietals we can supply you. So we're going to take you through the brewing process now. The grind is obviously very important. It has to be calibrated properly. The amount of beans is 8 ounces to a brew. It's between 7.5 and 8 ounces. I'm going to show you later how to calibrate the machine. This is pre-calibrated, but I want to take you through the process. The machine comes with this little hook that's intended to clip in the basket. When we install it, the first thing I do is throw this away. Because what happens is, when the people who brew the coffee put it in, the beans will fly and they'll get around the filter and you'll end up getting grinds in your coffee. So the proper procedure is to not put the basket under the grinder, just put the filter by itself and then press the grind button, and the beans will stay in the filter and there's no chance of them getting into the basket. And it takes about 25 to 30 seconds on the machine. The machines are programmed how many seconds to grind for to get to that 8 ounces of beans. And again, we're going to see that later in this video. And you really get the aroma of the coffee, the fresh ground coffee. It really does make a huge difference in the final product. So the grind's done, the machine's shutting down, and you can see you do get some residual beans, and that's why you don't want that basket under there. So I'm going to take it now, drop it in the basket, make sure there's no flopping, and then we're ready to brew.
It's so important that the water percentage of your coffee is over 90%. So you want to make sure that your water is of the highest quality at the right temperature and able to brew over the coffee without grounds, as Bill mentioned, underneath the filter. So when you start with water quality, the first thing I would look into is making sure that your water filter, which is behind your coffee brewer, is changed regularly. And that regularly means about every 6 months. The quality of the water coming in is contingent on that water filter, and the longevity of your equipment is dependent on you changing that filter regularly. Secondly, your water temperature needs to be around 190 degrees when it comes over the grounds of coffee, give or take 5 degrees. That's what allows you to get the right extraction of the coffee. Then your holding temperature of the water and the coffee in your server needs to be around 170 degrees. That's the Specialty Coffee Association standards in the industry. So in terms of making sure that you both have the water filter in place, that you have the brew basket correctly inserted, your grounds should be leveled off. Then once you hit your brew button, you're ready to go. So the final process in the process of seed to cup is the cleaning of the coffee equipment. It is very important to maintain the quality of the coffee, that the canisters and the equipment is cleaned regularly. What we recommend is a weekly cleaning on both the grinder canisters all the way through to the coffee canisters. So I'm going to walk you through this process. It shouldn't take too long, and if you try to do it weekly, let's say on a Friday, it'll be very easy to do. So the first thing you'd want to do is make sure that your canisters at the end of the week are cleaned out. You would take the beans out, store them, and then just wash them, regular soap and water, and let them dry. They're ready to go. From the brewing point of view, the brewer has a cleaning packet called Ernex, and we recommend that you brew a packet of Ernex once a week into each of the canisters. So you would actually open it up just like you would brew a packet of coffee. You would pour it into the filter, slide it into the machine, put your canister that you're cleaning underneath like you would brew. Make sure you take your lid off. And then you would hit the brew cycle to brew a pot of the Ernex. Once you've done that, empty the canister out and then brew another batch of just hot water through the canister. That cleans the canister out. What that's going to do is maintain the canisters, and you won't see the black film that builds up inside. Your funnels also should be cleaned through the Ernex process, but just make sure that you clean these thoroughly after the brew, and you'll maintain an excellent clean machine. Last but not least is your spray head. Spray heads are where you develop lime buildup, and lime buildup can impede the flow of water. Water calibration will change if you do not clean the spray head weekly. So you want to make sure that this spray head is cleaned and the surrounding area underneath here is also kept clean. That prevents any old coffee from dropping into the servers. And that's it. If you are able to do that weekly, you'll maintain your equipment and you'll be brewing the best possible coffee.